But I want to start by saying hello. My name is Hannah. I'm one of our assistant directors in the Office of Admissions. Just to kind of kick us off, I want to say that if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat during the conversation. And then at the end, we will have room for questions if you want to share them out loud. But I'll start by introducing Jennifer Murray, who is Director of Parent Programs. On the call, we also have JP Partilla and Carol Ann Riddle, parents of Jackson, class of 2025, and also on the Parents Executive Committee. They are co-chairs and have been for the past 2 years. They are extraordinary volunteers, as are our other family here, Joanna and Brian Karp, parents of Sadie, class of 2027. So I will welcome them to get started. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. My name is Jennifer Murray. My position is Director of Parent Programs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about parent programs and how it's a wonderful thing that as parents you will be able to participate with and learn about things about campus through parent programs. I've been with the colleges for 6 years. Fun fact, my mom is an alumnus of the colleges, and I was actually 10 years old when she graduated. So I guess it was destined for me to be there. And in my role, I oversee a bunch of different things that happen on campus for parents. But the first one that you will experience is communication. So as parents of first years, if your student has committed already or they're considering it, you'll get a series of letters from me telling you what's happening in your student's world, because they will be getting a lot of emails, a lot of information, things to be doing, things to fill out, and tasks that need to happen before they arrive to campus in August. So my job is to make sure parents are informed, and that once you know what's happening, then you can help us be partners in making sure that your student is maneuvering and managing all of those things that need to happen. So communication is one of my key components to my job. So it starts, like I said, with the summer letters and then newsletters throughout the school year, once a month with information about what's happening on campus and specific dates, things to keep in mind so that you can talk to your student about that. I also work on events. So a big one is Homecoming and Family Weekend, which is a fabulous weekend. It is the first weekend in October, I believe it's 3rd through 5th. I'm so sorry, I don't know the exact dates, but it's that Friday through Sunday. There's a dinner on campus on Friday night and activities all day Saturday that day. So if you know you're going to be at Hobart and William Smith next year, I highly recommend you go to our website, and we'll share all of this information with you too as we get closer, which also has information about different local places to stay. And I also work on, I help parents find volunteer positions, things that you might be interested in doing to help out on campus. We always need volunteers with our career service office and with our admissions office, and hosting events. And there are a lot of other things that you can do. And so I am going to now talk real briefly about our 2 families here, because they are both incredibly involved and do a lot. And I think they are really enjoying this experience their student is having at the school, and that they are having completely separate from their student. So first, I'd like to introduce Joanna and Brian Karp. They're here with us at least for a short time. They are in a sunny locale right now, but they are parents of Sadie Herr, who many of you might have already met in the admissions office. Sadie is an admissions employee, but they are parents. So Sadie is a sophomore this year. She'll be a junior next year. And Joanna and Brian have helped us with admissions volunteering, with our advancement volunteering, with events, and of course being here to help answer any questions. And they are upcoming co-chairs of the Parents Executive Committee, which is a group of highly engaged parents It is a philanthropic group, but I'm happy to talk with everybody about it at some point. That's not for tonight, though. And I would also like to introduce Carol Ann Riddell and JP Partilla, who are just next to Joanna and Brian. They are parents of a senior, and I'm very sad they're graduating off of the board, but they are the current co-chairs of the Parents Executive Committee. But more importantly, they are incredible super volunteers. They have helped with career services, with admissions, with the pitch contest. Think Shark Tank, but on the Hobart and William Smith level, which is an amazing opportunity for students. They have hosted in their home events and virtual events like here. So I would like to invite Carol Ann and JP to share a little bit about their experience as parents here, what they have done as volunteers, and then I think we'll be able to go to questions. But if there's anything that you hear as we're talking, please feel free to put it in the chat. And if Hannah thinks we should interrupt what's being said, we can always get that question right in there. I think that's good. Is that good, JP and Carolyn? Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we'll jump right in and we'll try and be brief. You know, as Jennifer and Hannah had said, I think we got involved and so engaged with the school because our son Jackson, who's a second semester senior, has just loved it from the beginning. He's been super engaged. It's been a wonderful fit for him. Just very briefly, he's loved so many classes. He's I think a major and a minor versus a double major. He's done this semester abroad in Prague. He's got such close friendships. A couple of them were just here the other night before they were heading out for spring break, and we were actually having some wine from the Geneva Lakes that Jackson had brought home for us for dinner. And because I think we have a number of children, but for some reason we've really been drawn to Hobart William Smith as a very special place. I think that we feel heard, involved. We've had a great time meeting parents like Joanna and Brian and many others, and just we've really, as Jennifer said, thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and we're here to really just answer questions, I think.
Yeah, and I just want to say congratulations, you guys, because it is an incredibly special place, JP mentioned we have 5 children between us, and 4 of them have been in college at the same time. So we have a pretty good data set here. And just, I can really tell you that HWS is not only special and different for our child's experience, but also in terms of our own experience. We have gotten so much out of being a part of this group. We love being on that campus. We've met some great parents. It's super fun.
Yeah.
Even for us, we are sad to leave. So I just, congratulate you because it's a really great 4 years. And if anyone's in New York, we're having an admissions party next week. So please feel free to come by.
Yeah, next Thursday, right?
Right, next Thursday, right?
Which happens to be Carol Ann's birthday, by the way. And she is spending her birthday hosting. I'm sorry, I had to mention it. I'm sorry.
39 again.
I love it.
Yes, that's how she's spending her birthday. I planned the admissions party on her birthday.
Yes,
special.
we planned it for a different day, but then of course JP didn't check his travel schedule. So now it is on my birthday, but I can't think of a better way to celebrate because it's a great place and a very special school. So we'd love to, answer any questions you might have or, and one other thing I do want to say, you guys, is the other thing about HWS that's incredible is having Jennifer, because it's kind of this like boots on the ground thing that we have never had at our other schools, where there's a direct contact as a parent. You don't have to be part of the executive committee. There's a direct contact that you can reach out to who has answers or can direct you to the person who has answers. You get information all the time about what's happening on campus. So you can actually say to your kid, oh, did you know that such and such is happening? When they tell you, well, I don't know what I want to do, that you know what they should do. It's just an incredible resource to have. And there's so much fun stuff happening there.
Thank you, Carol Ann. That was a very nice thing for you to say. And it does remind me that I would like to say that you're absolutely right. I am here for everybody. And I kind of call myself the clearinghouse. I will figure out who you need to talk to. I don't know all the answers, but in my 6 years, I've had the pleasure of meeting most of the campus partners that can help any parent figure out any concerns, anything that's going on. And if you don't mind, Joanna, I would love to invite you just to talk talk for a minute about the Facebook page, because I didn't mention that we do have a Hobart and William Smith families and parents Facebook page, and I think a lot of you have already joined in. But Joanna started one for her class, and she can mention her Philadelphia yield event coming up too.
Sure. Yeah, when my our daughter had applied to HWS early decision, and so when she had been admitted, I thought it would make sense to start a class of 2027 parents Facebook page. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I just started it, and very slowly parents started to join, and I was able to advertise it on the main parents page and sort of coordinate with Jennifer so that we could kind of get the word out. And I do believe there was another mom who started a 2028 page. So I think now we need a 2029 parent to start a 2029 page. So if anybody is a committed family, I'd be more than happy to help you if you need help setting it up. It was very simple. And you basically just have to let people in as they request access. And I think it's been helpful, especially for first year parents. There was so much there's so much information for first year parents, and there was a lot of postings in the late spring and early summer about housing and how housing works. That seems to be like the biggest question. And what do rooms look like, and what are rug sizes, and what's the furniture situation. And so the Facebook pages seem to be really helpful for that, and lots of parents will post photos, and it's a really good resource. So I'm more than happy to help anyone out that wants to take on that job. And we live outside of Philadelphia, and like Carol Ann and JP in New York, we are hosting an admissions event on March 26th. So if you are in South Jersey or Philly, we'd love to have you. So just let Hannah know, and we will add you to the RSVP list.
Or Delaware.
Or Delaware.
Thank you, Joanna and Brian. I appreciate that. Hannah, I don't know if there have been any questions, but I think it might be a good time no question is wrong or too small or too big. You've got lots of folks here who are happy to answer, and I think it's a really nice opportunity to ask questions of Carol Ann, JP, Joanna, and Brian as parents of current students, if there's any questions that you might have.
Yeah, please ask away. We were in your shoes, I guess, 4 years ago.
I have a quick question. Maybe you could just share a little bit of like what your child went through their freshman year, or maybe some things that were anticipated or unanticipated that might be helpful for us. I have an older one, but every kid is different and every school is different. So I love hearing parents kind of share the trials and tribulations.
Should we let Joanna and Brian answer first? Just, I don't know how long it'll be on with Sadie, and then we'll answer.
So I think going into freshman year, it was more about who's going to be my roommate, where do I want to live. Sadie knew from the get-go that this is where she wanted to be, so it was an easy transition in that regard. Would you agree?
I would agree.
But I think the kids all join the class Instagram page sort of as soon as they start getting admitted, and then they start to chat and they start to meet each other, and they can do roommate requests. Now the colleges do give all students a survey form that's very comprehensive that really helps answer lots of questions in terms of your preferences for living, so that roommate matching it's generally very good. And Sadie's here and she's nodding her head yes, that roommate matching is generally very good. But a lot of the kids do sort of meet online and then request each other.
Yeah, and I thought that made it really nice for Sadie because she already had a relationship going in, into August when she met her face to face and knew, had a friendship and was comfortable, and they were planning out their room together, which made it a lot easier when they got there. So I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah, and I would say one of the things that HWS does that's really amazing, and Jennifer was talking about this a little earlier, is the level of communication. So starting in May, and it might even be sooner, you start to get so much information and about your freshman seminar, You find out what seminar you've been assigned to, and then that professor reaches out to the student directly, and they start to have planning meetings for their courses prior to ever setting foot on campus. So that relationship's been established really early on. So between that and it reduces all the anxiety because that stuff's happening so far in advance. And finding out, I think you find out what room you have and your roommate in June, if not early July. And so, nobody's like stressed out on August 15th, not knowing where they're living or who they're living with.
Yeah. And on top of that, and even after that piece of it, I mean, there's so many things at HWS to get involved with for the students, and it's so easy to get involved. And I think it made Sadie's experience so much better that she did get so involved in, all different kinds of activities. And so it was, I think that really is helpful for the students just to network and meet other kids. And, I thought that was a great part of it.
Yeah, and the only other thing I would say is because HWS is so small, I mean, I don't mean that in a negative way. I think it's a wonderful size, but it's small in a wonderful way where you get the classes that you want to be in. And I mean, you're not obviously guaranteed you're going to get a seat in every class because some classes have, 12 and 15 students, but it's not the kind of campus where you can't get into a class you want because you're a freshman. You get into the classes that you want because it's a small place and because it's set up that way. It's not set up where there's 300, person lectures, and it's not set up that you can't get a class that you want until you're a junior. And so that's also been wonderful because it's allowed students to get a wide breadth of exposure early on. And, because it's a small liberal arts school, you can sort of mix and match and you're not stuck on a path. You don't have to take this as a freshman because then you have to take that as a sophomore, because if you don't, then you'll never finish your major. Like, you have so much flexibility, and that's one thing that's really, really nice. And it gives the kids a lot more freedom to explore things they never even thought they might want to learn about.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll build on that too much because we agree with everything Joanna and Brian just said. I would just say that we always kept using the expression that it was like, for Jackson, kind of a duck to water. With HWS, he just obviously was very excited. He knew one roommate going in, but he lived in a quad, didn't know the other two. Those four boys are still very close friends today and roommates. And now they live in a house or something where they have two other great roommates. So I guess in every way, HWS has been high touch for Jackson in a way that has worked for him. And I think you'll find that. So again, with the freshman seminar or FSEM, they, knew the course they were taking to meet a lot of other folks. Socially, there's a lot of mixing between groups. It's not like just the athletes are over here, and the non-athletes are over there. It seems like we've just met so many wonderful friends from all the different groups. Mm-hmm. And then I think Jackson didn't appreciate this freshman year, didn't have a sense of it as much, but over the years, he's gotten so close to so many professors. And so I think it's just exceeded his expectations. I'm going to let the dog out. Hold on. So, but that's my answer to that.
The dog is very bossy and wants to go out on the balcony.
I agree. And I agree with everything. We agree with everything JP just said, professor relationships. Sadie's been to professors' houses for dinner. I mean, professors are texting if there's something wrong. I mean, it's just, it has been described in my family as camp with education. And that's a pretty good endorsement.
And I would it's not to say that every single thing is perfect, because I don't want you to think that we're not realistic and we have these children who everything goes swimmingly all the time, because it does not. It's not always perfect. But what's really wonderful about HWS is that when something does go awry, typically, at least in our case, because of our child, not because of the school, there is a way to get it resolved. You can talk to an actual person. You can find someone to address whatever the problem is. And there's just a little bit more of a hand on the back than there is at some places, having had kids at, large state schools and Ivy League. There's a little bit more of a sense there is recourse for me in whatever the situation, if it's that I'm having trouble with the laundry machines or something more significant.
Yes, I was going to say he went abroad his junior year spring semester, like a lot of the kids do, to Prague. But Jackson isn't always, he's a great young man, but he's not always the most ahead of the buttoned up person, even as a junior. And so suddenly we found ourselves behind as a family with the forms and the visas, but there was a person to talk to in the study abroad office at HWS. And I just remember having a great conversation. I said, look, I don't want to overreach as a parent. I know it's his responsibility, but what do I need to know to do here? And it was just, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of sort of hands on the, on the back there.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll pause there, but that's a long-winded answer, but feels very high touch for them.
Those are great. And I mean, one question that we did have was about activities on campus. I think you both kind of touched on that. And because folks are just concerned because it is a smaller school, do students get engaged in these activities, and are there opportunities for them? So Carolyn and JP, do you want to talk a little bit about Jackson's experience with out of athletics, because he is not in the athletic world at Hobart and William Smith, so he's found.
But he was a big soccer guy. He wound up not deciding to do that whole commitment, like a lot of, by the way, his roommates did. Like, one was a lacrosse person, one was a hockey person. Jackson was soccer. His other roommate does play golf for the school, but the three of them do clubs, and so Jackson's very involved in club soccer, and the other guys are club lacrosse and I don't know what Colby's and something to do with the hockey thing he found. But so there's that. There's club soccer. He's very involved in the Greek community, and he's involved in the international community. To whatever extent that means, including going over to President Guerin's house sometimes on Friday nights or for various lectures or panels. So there's a couple of different affinity groups he's involved in. And I don't know about Sadie, if Joanna's still on, if not, but yeah, Joanna, you're still on. What about Sadie? Outside of class.
Maybe we lost Joanna.
Maybe we lost Joanna. At any rate, yes, he's involved in a lot of things. And again, he's just, what's most important, I think, for us that we've really enjoyed is seeing how he's engaged with so many different slices or dimensions of the school community, including things that I wouldn't have thought naturally he would have enjoyed. He's involved in the entrepreneurship and wine community, taking a class up there and getting to know local merchants. And so there's just a lot of neat stuff up there. And I love that he's not in one clique. I guess that's a long-winded way of saying the school mixes and matches really nicely. A lot of cross currents.
I am here. Sorry, I was muted and my computer died, and now I switched to our phone, so we're here.
We were just saying, what about Sadie? Because we were doing some of Jackson's out of class.
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, Sadie goes to the Guerins often on Friday nights. It's a mixed group of kids. We, like you, we've been there often, and there's some kids are singing and other kids are visiting, and there's, it's a great mix of kids that go there. And Sadie is on the board of Hillel, so she and her friends often go from the Guerins on Friday night over across the street to Shabbat dinner. And that's a wonderful mix of kids. I mean, she's the only Jewish kid out of her friend group, and all of her non-Jewish friends go to Shabbat dinner almost every Friday night. They love it. So that just sort of is a really great example of how HWS is not a compartmentalized place. Exactly what you're saying about, the athletes are friends with the non-athletes, and, everybody, mix and matches in all sorts of events.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
yeah.
Thank you for both of you. I've got a couple more questions. So one question is, curious as to how your kids have characterized the social scene, culture, and community feel at HWS. And then there's a question about 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. So why don't we talk about the social scene, the community, and the culture first, and then we'll go to what you think the strengths and weaknesses are.
Well, it's a very vibrant social scene. It's very rigorous academically. I know that he's learned a lot and he loves the smaller classes, and I imagine Sadie feels the same. Since you're asking about social, and you are, I know that they have a very good time up there. And they have since they were their first week on campus. And I think there's a lot of campus community events that interact with the town. I think they bring on food trucks, and they have a day of service with the community when they're in their first week of the year. And I think that forms a lot of interesting bonds. It's a lovely, fun town. I don't know if everyone's been up there. We're huge fans of the town. I mean, it's really sweet, the town. And they really do get to know the local merchants, and, they go to town for pizza or for lunch. I think it's an 8 to 10 minute walk from the center of campus to the center of town. And then, of course, there's a vibrant Greek life. There just is. And then there's a vibrant sports community in the sense that it's a big part of weekends that a lot of, if you're not playing, a lot of kids go to cheer on other kids and other teams. And so there's a lot of spirit. So I guess I'll pause there. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I
some of
think
the
he said
culture.
it. I mean, yeah, it's a fun school.
Yeah, it's a fun
So
school.
I think if you want to have some fun, you will find it. Greek life is definitely big, but you don't have to be in Greek life to
Right.
have a lot of fun there. I think they work hard, but they take their fun very seriously.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff around the lake too.
Yeah, I mean, yes. There are so many special things where he'll say like, oh, we all rented boats from the school has a linkage to the boat rental community or something, and they're on the lake all day. And I don't know. And then there's just so much that is closely connected as well to the broader community beyond the campus community. He's just loved it.
That's awesome. Thank you. So a few more questions. Oh, well, we've got a lot of questions now. Some folks are asking about the debate team, and I don't know if Jackson or Sadie are on the debate team, but I will say they are amazing. Carolyn and JP, and I don't know if Joanna, if you were at that meeting, but we had the debate team come and do a debate for the Parents Executive Committee, and it was incredible. They are just a solid organization on campus that everybody follows and is in awe of. And if you have a student that might be interested in the debate team, I highly recommend you reach out to the folks at the team.
The debate is world class.
Yeah,
And
really
and you said 2 strengths, 2 weaknesses, just very quickly.
Yeah.
One of the strengths, of course, is I think the closeness and the connection of the HWS community. That's very genuine. Like this, we really enjoy this. We have felt more connected to this community than the other schools that our children have been a part of, and we really like those schools as well. But there's something very, I don't know, encompassing, or it pulls you in. It's very engaging, this community, for parents and for children. The second strength, I would say, and there's many, but we haven't mentioned it yet. Study abroad is a big strength, by the way, as well. They're very good on the study abroad program. But the ex-missions in the internship office run by Brandy
Very good.
Ferrara
Yeah.
is exceptional. We've met, oh my gosh, the people that run the internships and ex-missions job placement thing, the best we've seen.
It's really good.
Unbelievable.
And just the weaknesses, it's always hard to do the weaknesses, right? But that's my job. So I would say one of the weaknesses that is also a strength is the size, but it is a strength from our perspective and from Jackson's perspective. But I will say that by the time they get to junior year, and this is true of all the small liberal arts colleges, campus can start to feel smaller. And then what's beautiful is that many of them go abroad and they come back with this newfound appreciation for the size of their school. So because Hobart has such a robust broad program, I think it kind of addresses what some people might perceive as a weakness, being a smaller school. It's hard for me to even come up with another weakness. The only other thing that Jackson kind of complains about, again, this is not really a weakness as far as we perceive it, but is that campus police cracks down on the parties too early. That's what we hear.
Yeah.
But
But
I mean,
1 a.m. is too early. Sometimes these kids want to go all night.
so that's the only, I don't want to pretend like there's no weaknesses, but those are the 2 things that sort of come to mind.
Yeah, and I would just say this is not a weakness, but the courses are rigorous. And so the electives are fun and you can be really flexible. But, Jackson's mostly done really well academically, but he had one bad semester and that shook him up. But no one was holding his hand. And so you kind of have to make sure you keep up on the work. He might call that a weakness, that they gave him a very tough grade, that he had to repeat one class. But I don't think that's a weakness. I think that holds them responsible.
Just to follow up on that, there was one question about how does Greek life work with only one sorority and multiple fraternities? I don't know, Caroline and JP, if you have anything to say about that. I don't know that that's an issue, and I don't know if I don't know, Hannah, if you have any information about that.
Yeah. So previously we were founded as 2 separate institutions, Hobart for men or male identifying students and William Smith for female identifying. And it was always kind of historic tradition to have male Greek life on campus. And it was put up to a vote more recently for female identifying students who wanted to bring sororities. And that's when our first sorority came about a few years ago. I was actually a current student when it was founded. And recently, the students voted to bring a second sorority to campus. Now that takes time. There's the charter process. There's getting it started and up and running. But that's why there's that disparity, as previously William Smith, as an institution founded on women's equality for education, felt like its own sorority in a way. And so the students voted not to bring more until recent years, when it got so large as an institution that it truly couldn't feel like one sorority anymore. So that's why there's the disparity. About 18% of our students in total participate in Greek life on campus. So it is there. It is vibrant, as Caroline and JP have stated, but it's not overwhelming. It's not huge in any way. So that's kind of why there's the disparity. And in recent years, we're seeing more and more interest in sororities on campus.
If I can just piggyback on that for 1 second. So Sadie is not in the sorority. She's very social. And I think it's very, I think it's different. I think it's the fraternities are more of a thing for the guys than it is for the girls. There's lots and lots of ways that the girls are social, that are outside of Greek life. So having the one sorority doesn't hold them back in any way. They're always at the frat parties, but it's not in any way a deterrent. And if you don't want to go to a party, which often Sadie doesn't want to go, I mean, the girls are hanging out, they're hanging out in their dorms, they're going out to dinner, they're doing all sorts of things. So there's so many ways to be social, and you can really find a balance of going to parties versus not, whether you're part of the sorority or not.
Thank you. We have two questions that I think are important to cover. One is about housing, and one is about academic support and accommodations. And first, there was a question about sports-themed housing. I will say that students, a lot of athletes who come in are often, especially first years, are put with another athlete in their room. It just kind of helps with their schedule, that sort of thing. But that is certainly something that your student can talk to our housing office with. And housing can be very stressful and anxiety provoking, but we have an amazing team of people in our housing office, excuse me, led by Jenna Terrell. And I will tell you that they will make sure it works out. It always works out, even though it feels like it is not going to work out. It always works out. We have a lot of different housing options, and really ultimately our campus is a residential campus. So very few students actually live off campus, but that's something that you and your student can have that conversation with housing as they get closer to their senior year. Some seniors are allowed to live off campus, but there's some things that they have to maintain, a certain GPA, that kind of thing. And I will let Caroline and JP talk a little, and Brian and Joanna, about housing. But I also want to mention that we will talk about the academic accommodations. Our Center for Teaching and Learning is an incredible resource for students, but I will say students need to begin that conversation with them. So that's one of the things I will share with all first year families over the summer, is how you reach out to that office, how you can help your student reach out and share any IEP or other accommodation information. If your student doesn't need special accommodations, academic or non-academic, there are so many safety nets for academic support. The deans, the faculty advisor, and the professors. So I'm going to throw the housing and the support over to Caroline and JP, and then you can shoot it to Joanna and Brian.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackson lived in the big freshman housing.
JPR.
Yeah, for his freshman year. I mean, he always was angling to live off campus because he just was. But he ultimately moved. He's now in an apartment, and he really enjoys it. It kind of feels like it's part of campus because it's basically on campus.
Yeah.
Same with his fraternity, is basically on campus. So geographically, even like off-campus housing feels very much a part of the residential community. We really never had any tremendous issues with any of the housing. I mean, you know, you'll always see complaints on the parents' Facebook page periodically about something going on in the housing. But, you know, we have that with all our kids' colleges periodically, so it doesn't really faze us too much. We did find HWS to be very responsive. I mentioned the laundry thing, and I don't know, we went to our first parent meeting in Jackson's freshman year in the fall. And by the time we came back for our spring meeting, they had completely addressed what we had brought up. Two things we brought up, like later dining hall hours in one place and
Make
somehow
the laundry free.
make
And they
the-
made the laundry free.
Yeah, and so it was really awesome to see how nimble the school is to respond to those things. So there are glitches, there's issues, but we didn't find any real problems with the housing. The roommate, the ability to select a roommate, you can think that's a good idea or not a good idea. For Jackson, it was a good idea. We've had kids at other colleges where that is not an option. And I think there is a lot of comfort in being able to have a little bit of, knowing ahead of time what you're getting into in terms of a roommate.
And they put all the first years very near each other geographically, proximity wise. So you're either in this big thing called JPR, which stands for something I don't know, or you're in one of the other one or two or three housing, dorms right near there. They're kind of in a pocket near where you buy the school supply or merch store, and they really become close as a first year group because they're all near each other, and tons of friendships come out of that. And then, we've seen a number of the other dorms. They all look great to me. I mean, the building, sure, are they building slightly older? Yes, because it's a school with great history, but the rooms are good size, I think, for college, living. And yes, eventually he spent some of his junior year in the fraternity house, I think first semester, and then he went abroad second semester, and now he's off campus. But off campus, he's really on campus.
Yeah.
I don't know why, So he's 4 minutes from the dining hall. So I think it's been, really good for them all, and they've never had any serious complaints about any of the housing or the food or any of that.
But I would definitely say that Sadie's room is about 5,000 times cleaner than Jackson's.
Yes, that's
Is
just
my
how I'm
guess.
sure it goes.
I would say from a housing standpoint, Sadie's had a couple of good experiences. She's in her sophomore year, so she just chose actually for junior year. But freshman year, because I feel like that's the most relevant right now, Sadie did live in JPR where Jackson lived. It stands for Jackson, Potter, and Reese, which are 3 buildings that are connected in a horseshoe shape. And it houses, I think, almost 4 to 5. She's whispering 70%. It houses about 70% of the freshmen, but the freshmen also have a chance and the option to choose single-sex housing. So there's one dorm on the main quad that's boys only, and there are freshman dorms on the William Smith Hill if someone prefers female-only housing. So you have options. There's also another building called Sherrill Hall, which is the one JP is referring to, that's like right attached to the bookstore, which is in front of JPR. So that's sort of like a freshman housing sort of area over that way. And Sadie was socially anxious, freshman year, and being in JPR, I think, made all the difference in her first year experience. She met kids from all 3 buildings. She'd run upstairs. They'd come downstairs, and it was really like an enclave unto itself. So I think that was a wonderful experience for her. And then, housing, you get a lottery number, and your lottery number is either good or not so good, and your roommates is either better or worse, and you sort of go from there. But there are so many choices, and you can start choosing as a sophomore. So there are so many options. You could live in a 6-person suite. You could live in a double. You could apply for a single. So, there's so many options that, kids can do whatever, or at least try to do whatever feels good for them. And we've never had any issues there. The housing office is helpful. You can get your questions answered. But it does come down to your lottery number, but that's no different than on any campus in the whole country. There's always a housing lottery number. But it's not like there aren't enough rooms for the number of students. So I think that's one really positive thing on this campus. And I think, on some big campuses, it's like, you're not guaranteed housing. You're 100% guaranteed housing on the HWS campus.
Really just everyone's approximate to the beautiful quad. No, there's no one dorm that I can recall that is, I don't know, really far away, more than a 7-minute walk. It seems like everyone's right there. It's a very beautiful community. physically.
Yeah, I agree with what JP's saying. I think like the furthest corner to the furthest corner on the campus is like 12 minutes. And Sadie gives admissions tours, so she's probably got that timing down to a science. But, so you're never far, no matter where you live and no matter where you need to get to.
Wonderful. Thank you. Hannah, do you have other questions that we should touch on?
I did get a question about what are anticipated changes in the next 4 or 5 years while these students will be on campus. And Jennifer, if you want to talk about our very successful current capital campaign and the new Fish Science Center that's anticipating to be there during the time that these students would be on campus.
Yeah, this is very exciting. This is a very exciting time to be entering Hobart and William Smith. We are in the middle of a campaign. It's sort of a capital and a comprehensive campaign. Our largest capital venture, if you will, is going to be a brand new science center where we will be taking down a couple of buildings. This is terrible. I don't know exactly everything. And so but more will be shared with everybody. But we'll be taking down a couple of buildings, putting up a new building and integrating all of the sciences. We've recently added environmental science to our majors. So there's a lot of different things happening. We're also going to be updating current science spaces on campus and really trying to bring all of the sciences together near the science, either in or near the science quad that is to the south of the main Hobart quad. It's a very exciting time. We also, I don't know if our first year families or potential first year families know this, but we just got the largest gift in our history of the colleges, a $70 million gift from a gentleman, Thomas Melly, who was the class of 52. He made the gift in October and sadly passed away in December, but he was class of 52. So I think he was 92 years old. An incredible gentleman. He was very involved with the colleges always. And he started off giving $100 gifts to the school, which was just such a neat thing to figure out. But he truly believed in Hobart and William Smith. And that $70 million will go to many things. We're working on that. He was very engaged with scholarship at Hobart and William Smith. So I know that there's lots of great things coming with that and with our campaign. But the 4 pillars of the campaign, just so you know, is science facility, scholarship, raising money to offer a lot more scholarships to our students, student experience, which will encompass a bunch of different things, and we're really working a lot of that out. And also our annual fund campaign, which is the kind of, those are the gifts that allow Hobart and William Smith to offer amazing opportunities that you just don't necessarily get at other schools. With the activities and the classroom opportunities are incredible for all those reasons. So that's very exciting, and that's coming up in the next 4 to 5 years. And then was there something else, Hannah?
I think that was the only question that I got, but I'm happy to address kind of next steps and where to go from here. If you have any questions, I'll throw my email in the chat. Jennifer threw her information in, and we're happy to connect you with Caroline, JP, Joanna, or Brian. And I want to thank them all for their time tonight. And Sadie, thank you for your little whispers off to the side. If you haven't taken a tour of campus, definitely come and definitely request Sadie as your tour guide. She's fantastic. But I do want to talk about, we have 2 admitted student days coming up, one on April 12th and one on April 26th. So if you haven't had a chance to visit campus, we'd love to see you. And the May 1st decision deadline is soon approaching. So if you have any questions or things you're curious about, please go on your student's admitted student profile. You can find all of the contact information for the admissions office, financial aid office, whoever you wish to speak to, and let us know. We're happy to answer any and all of your questions.
Yeah, I recommend you all try your best. I don't know where everyone's from, if you can in any way, to physically get there. I do remember, I'll just say, when Jackson was doing all his tours, and he went back and forth a couple of times, and he wound up EDing HWF the lake. He just stood by himself, and he was still a 17-year-old little bit of an immature young man. And he came back, he goes, I really think it's going to be this place. And we had looked at, a bunch of schools, different size and shape and areas. And then he wound up going again and then going again. By the way, he is still close friends with the tour guide that toured him. Speaking of Sadie being a tour guide, and we have become friends with the tour guide. The tour guide we live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. The tour guide named Stewie has moved a few blocks away. I see him running the park sometimes. We've had him over for a glass of wine with he and his girlfriend. Like who becomes friends with the tour guide years later as an adult? I mean, it's just such a community. And he always, when Jackson was on campus, he's always said, like, I really was hoping you'd come and I remember you. It's just an incredibly unique community, physically and connection-wise. I really don't think you can appreciate it if you can step foot on there, it'd be great.
I agree with everything JP just said, and if I keep going on and on, I'll start to cry because that's how much we love this place. So it's really, it's so unique. It's different than anything you could really imagine. I mean, it's really an unbelievable place where it captures your heart. It's an amazing family community of a campus.
Great.
Thank you so much, everybody. And I did put my email in the chat, but it is Murray, pretty simple, MURRAY @hws.edu. And if there are any other questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me. You'll be seeing my name a lot more if your student, son or daughter, has decided to come to Hobart and William Smith. We'll be very excited about that. So, and I know that there is at least one alum on here who is very excited. She's waving. Is that Jamie or Jess? And she says she's still friends with her tour guide. So there you go.
Yeah, so
Well, thank you,
that's so
everyone.
weird. Yeah, he's such an extraordinary young man, and it's how it happened again and again. And anyway, there's a million of those small stories from the community of this community that I think make up like the fabrics or patches on a quilt. Then that the whole thing has just been unbelievable. We will be very sad to leave. We'll be glad he's graduating on time. Another great boon of HWS that our guys get out there right on time, but we'll be sad to leave too, and I know he will be.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.